How's it going, everybody? Bryan, Alvarez, and Dave Meltzer here, Wrestling Observer Radio. It is June 17, 2018, figure4online.com/wrestlingobserver.com. Got a lot of news to get into here today, including tomorrow's Money in the Bank, but, of course, Saturday night, NXT Takeover, the, second Chicago show, NXT Takeover Chicago 2. Another excellent show. It's going to be very, very difficult for Money in the Bank to top this show, especially looking at that card, which we'll get into in a moment.
I really don't think there's much of it. I mean, there's always a chance, but I would put the odds very low that they're going to be able to beat this. This is a really, really good show, and yeah, looking at that card, we'll see. But I honestly think that it's going to be. I think that the best match tomorrow would be lucky to be fourth today. Lucky to be fourth. I think the best match tomorrow would be fourth. I think it'd beat the NXT title match and the Shayna Baszler match. I don't know, but it's going to beat the other three.
Well, let's jump into this show here. So, obviously, they've been building this thing up for a while, and the Johnny Gargano street fight was the main event of the show. Again, this is the second show in a row where the main event has not been the championship match, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, obviously, the championship match wasn't going to be able to follow this at all.
On this show, the main event was the match that had the most interest, and for the other reason, if they put that championship match on last, people would have had lost interest. Maybe not, because it was a really good crowd. The crowd in Chicago was awesome. They really, in every match except for the women's match, they kind of hurt that one. But actually, in some ways, I was amazed at the women following those first two matches that they got over as much, because with a lot of crowds that match would have died. But no, Gargano Ciampa should have been last. I mean, it was the most anticipated match, and the Black and Lars Sullivan match. I mean, it was a good match, but if it was on afterwards, it would have been real flat.
My point is this: it's one thing if you do this once, but when you've done it now on two straight NXT shows, maybe the title should be on the line in that Gargano-Ciampa feud.
That's a good point. You could do that, but they didn't. Yeah, I think you could still do that. You could have Ciampa win and have Gargano chase him, or which would probably be better than Gargano winning and Ciampa chasing him. But you could do that. Yeah.
So we had Vic Joseph, Percy Watson, Nigel McGuinness doing the show here today. Boxing commitments for Mauro Ranallo.
Mauro did Showtime. Showtime has first dibs on Mauro. That's part of his contract. So when there's a Showtime boxing, he can't do NXT.
So we had Oney Lorcan, Danny Burch versus Undisputed Era for the tag team titles. Lots of chance for Undisputed. Lots of chance for Kyle O'Reilly. Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch were supposed to be the baby faces, but the fans decided the Undisputed Era were the baby faces.
That happened every night this week, by the way.
Yeah.
Because they Undisputed Era were super baby faces in every city, even when they work as heels.
So they still did a match where Lorcan and Burch basically worked the babyface role. They
worked as baby faces the whole match. Yeah.
Yep. So we got Burch distracted, drop kicked for the heat. Somehow
by the end, the crowd was fine with that too.
Well, they were by the end. The match was so great that the guys got a standing ovation there at the end. But I mean, they were booing all the way up until the very, very finish, and it wasn't until the match was over that they actually cheered these guys. So Oney Lorcan, or Burch, got kicked and somehow busted open the top of his head, so he actually was bleeding very early in the match. And Lorcan got a hot tag, and then we had all of the near falls. We had a big flip dive onto the outside by Lorcan onto both guys, double blockbuster. Burch really tagged cool. in.
That double blockbuster spot was really cool.
Yep, crowd's chanting, "This is awesome." Lorcan hit a double neck breaker off the apron. They hit their doomsday device, but Cole pulled O'Reilly out of the ring to save the match. Ref ejected him. Crowd goes crazy. They're chanting bullshit.
They were booing that like crazy.
They could not believe he got rid of him.
Yeah, and it's like he interfered right in front of the referee.
He did.
Yeah.
So it broke down into a four-way. Lorcan and Burch got double submissions. It was broken up. Tons of NXT chants. And then Undisputed finally hit the high-low on Lorcan, got the pin. This match was outstanding. I thought this would be a sleeper match on the show. It was. Although there were a lot of those here tonight. And
I thought that match was really great. Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly are a fantastic team, and Lorcan and Birch are very good too. Only Lorcan's one of the more underrated guys in the whole business, and as is Danny Birch for that matter. But everybody looked great, crisp, hard hitting. It was.
I know people are going to disagree with this, but to me, this was the second best match on the show. I thought this was better than Ricochet and the Dream.
I don't think. I look, from the feedback we got so far, it's getting more votes for best match than almost anyone. More
than the main event.
They're split. They're split right now. They're split. They're both getting the Ricochet match isn't getting much as far as best, but I thought. You know what? I did think Gargano Ciampa was the best match, but I thought this until the very end of Gargano Ciampa. I thought this match was good, and there was, and it was close. I did think it was pretty close. I mean, there's a part of me that wants to say that the tag match was better because it was more, because that the other match was really gimmick oriented, and I did think they went too long. And at points it felt silly to me. So it wasn't, but I mean, it was a phenomenal match. Whereas this first match, I could say nothing negative other than, nothing. I wouldn't say nothing negative. I thought the match was absolutely fantastic. So I could easily see, either one is best match.
We had Velveteen Dream and Ricochet. Velveteen came out doing a Hulk Hogan gimmick, the red and yellow feathered boa, the ear cupping, the posing. So, early out of the match, the deal was Dream is trying to prove that he can outdo Ricochet in terms of athleticism, did some dives and stuff that he doesn't normally do, which is a nice story, but we're talking Ricochet here.
Yeah, he couldn't, though.
You're not outdoing Ricochet.
No.
So, a lot of fight forever chants. Both these guys' chants went up top together, got crotched. Dream hit something resembling his rolling Death Valley driver for a near fall.
That was really cool. That's really cool, that spot.
They fight up top again. This time, Dream gives him a vertical suplex off the apron to the floor.
That was scary.
Crazy.
That was scary, yeah.
Barely got in by 10. Trading strikes. Velveteen hits his downward spiral DDT out of nowhere. Dream starts screaming at him that he belongs in the bingo hall, so Ricochet fires up, hits Dream with his own Death Valley bomb, his own flying elbow. Actually got some boos for this, believe it or not.
Well, Velveteen Dream was super popular.
He was super over here.
More than Ricochet, which for whatever. I mean, that's what it was. I mean, he was more popular than Ricochet. Not that no one booed Ricochet other than that one spot, but
so he goes for his 630 Velveteen move. So Ricochet hits his huge shooting star press, but Velveteen got his knees up, and then Dream tries a flying elbow all the way across the ring, like a coast to coast, misses. Ricochet hits a 630 for the pin.
He flew really far.
Yes, he made it all the way to the other side.
I would say he made it 80% of the way to the other side. That was for with an elbow.
So thought it was a very, very good match. Not the best match on the show, or the second.
No,
but the third. I'll give the third best match on the show.
Easily the third. Easily the third. No, yeah, it was the thing is with this match was fantastic. But I kept thinking, during this, number one, the two things that stood out to me is I just thought the crowd was so awesome in this match. I mean, they were all night anyway, but it really made a difference because I've seen Ricochet do more stuff with better guys, and I thought this match came across better than some of those matches or equal to some of those matches. And that I've seen in front of hot crowds, like if this match was at PWG, and that's a really rabid crowd. I mean, I know, if this match was at PWG, it wouldn't be. It's Ricochet's matches at PWG are almost all better than this. But in this crowd, it came across so well. And it was laid out real well. I mean. There were some little things that were good. At other points, you can sort of see, Velveteen Dream's not at the level of the top guys, but he's got the charisma of the top guys. He's going to be a superstar. But yeah, it was awesome. It was, for a guy who's been in the length of time Velveteen Dream's been in, to be able to be in a match like this, even with Ricochet, who's just outstanding. It was. I thought he put in a hell of a performance, and Ricochet's just again, Ricochet is one of the best in the world. I mean, then again, I don't even know if he's the best in NXT because of Gargano, and they got Roderick Strong too. They got a hell of a lineup there of guys. Kyle O'Reilly. There's a lot of talent there. Adam Cole's more charisma, but Ricochet is, he is one of the best in the world.
Wait, Shayna Baszler, Nikki Cross for the NXT Women's title. They had an idea here, and that is that Nikki's all crazy, and Shayna has no idea what to do with her. Nikki's begging her to take her back, and she's going all nuts. Finally, Shayna just drops back with Nikki on her back, smashes her on the apron, gets the heat for a while. Beach Ball showed up here, distracted the crowd for a long time. They're
kind of ruined it.
All into the Beach Ball. So Nikki fires up, back suplex, big comeback. Shayna goes for the choke. Nikki cuts her off with a draping neck breaker. Shayna gets her foot on the ropes, tries a cradle. Shayna puts her in the choke again. Nikki fights. She fights. Looks at the hard cam, smiles peacefully, goes to sleep. This was not very good, but they tried.
They were in a bad position. They were in a bad position. I didn't think the match was too bad, but it was obviously the weakest on the show.
There was no position on the show they could have been in.
Yeah, I know. They could have opened. It's like they could have opened, and they probably would have done real well had they opened. But any other position on the show, they'd be following something really good. So yeah, it was tough. And you knew it. You know what I mean? It's like you knew it. So it's actually, when it comes to match order to maximize, I think that one I would argue that one. They probably should have gone first. Because I know there's the mentality where you got to open.
I think their idea is you got to have a hot opener. Yeah, this would not have been a hot opener.
It would have been, if it was on first, it would have been fine. It would have done, it wouldn't have been great, but it would have been fine, and you wouldn't have the dead spot on the show. But it was the dead spot on the show. And I wouldn't even say dead spot. That's probably not being fair. But it was obviously not the level of anything else. But look, it's who it is. You're asking a lot. They were in a position where it wasn't going to work, and they were all right. But I don't know. They were all right. I think I don't know if Nikki Cross is getting brought up. She could be, because on over the weekend when she was at the shows, they kept calling her Nikki Cross of Sanity. So maybe and they've kept Sanity off TV. So maybe she ends up with them. I don't know. Because I'll say this, I felt like when it's over, it's like they're done. To me, this feud's done.
We had the shots of EC3 and Keith Lee in the crowd, who showed a ton of charisma without even saying a word, just playing to the camera.
Keith Lee's Keith Lee should be a superstar.
Yep.
He's one of the most agile big guys you'll ever see. He can do so many things. He understands how to work a match. Maybe not their style, but I've seen him in far too many fantastic matches. And great in-ring charisma. Great, what's the word I'm looking for? In the ring. Great presence in the ring. Just stands there. He looks like he's somebody. His face is great. He should, you never know with WWE for a million reasons, but he should be a big star. And plus, he's a big guy, and there's not a lot of big guys that are coming up these days.
We had Aleister Black, Lars Sullivan for the NXT title. He went for his kick early. Lars caught it. This was kind of like just a sprint for the first couple of minutes here. They're just going back and forth with all of their moves. Aleister keeps trying to kick him. Lars just clubbers him like King Kong, just smashing him. And finally, Lars catches him on a moonsault, drops him on the apron, runs him to the barricade, works him over for a while. Goes for his big headbutt, but Aleister gets one knee up right to the jaw, makes his comeback, big quebrada. Lars hits a chop block and a stretch muffler, tries the freak accident, gets DDT'd. There was one horribly botched spot in this match.
What's the black mass that completely missed?
They're doing a spot, and Alcer throws his kick, and he's literally like a foot away from the guy's face. But he slaps his thigh anyway, so there's a big sound. Sullivan bumps anyway, and like
they do a near fall, and the whole crowd was just like,
This crowd, the nicest crowd in the world.
Yeah, but that was bad instinct. That was just bad instinct across the board on everyone's part, because it was just you couldn't sell it, but you couldn't not sell it. You're just a bad position to be in, because he did slap the thigh hard, but man, it missed. It just missed, and when he went down, and the other thing too is like everybody, they want Sullivan to be this tough guy, and when he did that, it was just like it really hurt.
We got what had to be the very first "You fucked up" chant on an NXT show. Certainly on a takeover. Never heard that before, but they did it. So luckily they got the crowd back. They traded some strikes. Black hit the kick. Lars rises to his knees. His face is just mouth covered in blood. Alcer hits a second one for the pin. Crowd popped huge for the finish, so they did get him back. And turned into a pretty good match there by the end.
It was good. It was a good match.
Yep.
But other than that one spot, and it was a little rocky at a couple of other spots, but again, for the amount of experience that Lars Sullivan has,
this was Lars's first match to this level in his entire career.
Well, I mean, he's been doing it.
He held his own.
He's been doing it at house shows, but yeah, on a big stage. I thought for his level of experience, I thought he did well. Actually, very well. I was very surprised. I was very surprised he lost, though. I thought that they would do a DQ, or I didn't think he would win the title, because I don't think he should have the title. But I was surprised that they pinned him. I wonder if that's another one. I wonder if that means he's going up.
Don't know, but
I wouldn't bring him up. I think that when a guy like him, you don't want to bring him up too early, and I would not bring him up now. I mean, they may, but I just have that fear that it's like he's not quite ready. And if you come up and you get brought up and you're not quite ready, then people start getting that thing. And they do too. Management will get that typecast thing. It's like, well, he's not that good. Didn't quite click. And then you're fucked. So I think it's better for him to get, he's improved enough to where it's not like some guys like, when they're like physical specimens like that and they're not very good, and I'm not saying he's not very good, but when they're not very good, sometimes you just go, oh, God, he's just not going to get better, so we're just going to have to bring him in and hide and protect him and all that. And I think that Sullivan, I mean, he is getting better. He is better than he was 6 months ago, considerably better. So he'll probably be a lot better 6 months from now, and he'll be a lot closer to being what he needs to be. So I hope that's what the decision making is.
I mean, this guy he's been in developmental for
a couple of years.
It's been but 3-4 years or so.
Yeah, but he had a lot of injuries.
Sure,
that kept him that stopped his progress.
My point of this is he has not been there long enough that you can just go, he's reached his limit. He's never going to get any better.
No. He's still improving. He absolutely has not. And I can see just watching him in certain things here, things that he needs to improve on. And so it's I mean, he'll improve on the main roster, but the problem is with him, like some guys, they could start on the main roster and they could lose a bunch, and you can watch him build in front of guys. But if this guy comes in and they start beating him, his whole thing is being a monster. And if you do that, he's going to be like just some, like the Ascension or something. Well, he won't be that bad, but you know what I'm saying. It's like some big guy who is just kind of there, and but not to take him seriously. And so I won't want to risk him being in that position at all.
And with the main event, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, street fight. And boy, was this a street fight. So Johnny's heading to the ring. Candice runs up, gives him a crutch, and says, kick his ass. So that's that storyline. So they both come out with crutches. Quick duel. Johnny spears him. It's a dive off the apron, tosses him into the announcer's table, takes out Nigel. They brawled in the crowd. Johnny's hitting him with a stop sign that's in a fan's. Basically, there's a plant who has a sign.
There were a lot of plants, yeah.
Yep, and then hits a dive off some structure into the crowd.
Off the stage, yeah. That visual, they shot that so well. That visual of him flying, that was really cool.
So there are a lot of things in this match that they set up early and paid off later. Like early on, Ciampa grabs some handcuffs and he tries to handcuff Johnny to the ropes, but Johnny fights back. Handcuffs were there for like another 25 minutes before they're used again. And then a little bit later, Ciampa finds bolt cutters, starts cutting the ring apron apart and starts peeling back the foam to reveal the wood. And they did one tease there and then literally did nothing until the very, very end of the match. We had Johnny whipping him with his belt. You deserve it chance. That was funny. Referee's got gloves on even though nobody was bleeding, which was...
No. Johnny was bleeding.
From where?
The nose.
That early?
That's why he put his gloves on. I don't know where. I mean, he must have seen the blood. When I saw the blood, I saw the blood from the nose, it was way after he put the gloves on, but somebody who was watching with me said, no, he's been bleeding for minutes.
Well, anyway, we got We Want Tables chant, and just basically brawling all over the place. At one point, Tommaso tries to use the running knee, but he hits the steps. And he's going to take his brace off, but Johnny stops him and destroys his knee with a chair. And they brawl back up by the stage. And there's a bunch of crates, and there are 2 tables set up underneath the crates. And Tommaso drags him up on top of it and grabs the wedding ring off Johnny's finger, spits on it, tosses it into the crowd.
That was a crazy spot.
And this fires Johnny up. So he grabs him, hoists him up, and they do this giant bump off the crate through 2 tables.
He did an emerald flosion, whatever it's called, Celtic cross it's sometimes called as well, jumping up in the air off these crates through 2 tables. It was insane.
And let me say, by the way, this is not 2 tables stacked on top of each other. So you have 2 tables breaking or fall. They're side by side. They went through this table like butter and just smashed on the ground. It looked brutal. It showed like 25 replays. And Tommaso starts screaming that he needs help. So they bring out the doctors. They come out with a neck brace. They're putting a neck brace on him. They're getting ready to put him on the stretcher. Johnny's sitting on the crates. He's just looking down, all morose. So they're busy working on Tommaso. They finally get him on the stretcher. They start taking him away. And Johnny looks down and he sees where his ring used to be and he snaps. And he runs down there and he starts beating dudes up, these office folk. He takes a stretcher, he runs it down towards the ring as Ciampa's pleading with him to stop. Gargano throws him in the ring, tears off the neck brace, puts him in the Gargano escape. Ciampa's tapping, but for some reason, this was my big fault with the match, there's no referee.
The ref was gone for about half. Well,
he's gone forever.
Yeah.
Because there were 2 taps here with no referee.
Yep.
So Ciampa's tapping, there's no referee. Johnny then handcuffs his arms behind his back, super kicks him like a dozen times, puts him back in the hold. Ciampa taps again. There's still no referee. Officials come down. They're trying to drag Gargano off. He breaks free. They try and grab him. He's punching guys. And finally, he rushes back into the ring to get at Ciampa, but as he's coming through the ropes, Tommaso grabs him, DDTs him on the exposed wood, and suddenly the referee is there out of nowhere, and he counts the pin. Fans are just aghast at all of this, and basically the thing ends with Ciampa pushing himself to the back on the stretcher, and Candice is out there, and she's tending to Johnny. I wish that Tommaso would have demanded that they stretcher him to the back since it's such a heel move, but he didn't. And overall, I mean, it was a fantastic match.
It's a great match.
A couple things in it that I question, mostly where the hell that referee was with no explanation. And
well, wasn't he bumped or something?
I saw Johnny punching guys, but I didn't see him punch out the referee.
Yeah, I didn't replay it, so he may have been bumped, but I thought the same thing. I thought that it was just like, no matter even what it was like too long. You know what I mean? Like he was gone for too long.
Yeah.
So, but
the finish was fantastic, though.
Yeah,
I thought that finish was awesome.
Johnny Gargano is a really fantastic wrestler.
You don't say.
That's the one thing. Watching him in the whole match, he's like a guy who, like Roderick Strong is a fantastic wrestler, but Johnny Gargano, you feel it so much more than with Roderick Strong or even AJ Styles, who's also obviously a fantastic wrestler. He's got like, I mean, maybe even more than Daniel Bryan. I don't know. I mean, he gets you, and everything he does, like it's intense, it's believable for the most part. It looks great. I mean, I'm just, I'm kind of in awe watching him for, like this match went 35 minutes and probably too long, honestly. But because to me, it peaked and then went down for a little while. And it also, at points to me, it started feeling silly. With the stretcher and everything like that. And then somehow the bell doesn't ring, even though there's all these people out there. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's just too silly. But like the work of Johnny Gargano was just fantastic. And, and Ciampa's fantastic heel. So there's great chemistry there. And the storyline is so good. I mean, it's an incredible feud. So the whole thing, like Ciampa winning at the end and just that, people are just so pissed off, which is in a good way, not in a bad way. So, I mean, look, every takeover's good, and this one wasn't as good as the last one, but it's still a pretty damn good show. I mean, it's a great show, absolutely great show.
There was a moment. It's too early to do this, but there was a moment where Gargano's sitting on top of that crate. He's got this look on his face, and you knew he was going to snap. I thought, this guy's going to turn heel one of these days. And he's going to be the best. No, he will someday. Yeah. And he's going to be awesome.
I think he's too natural of a babyface, and it's really hard to have a babyface like that to squander it.
Well, and the day is going to come someday. May not be NXT, maybe main roster, but
yeah, I think
skeptically he's going to be a career babyface.
I don't know.
Especially with the way they love to get heat on the main roster.
Yeah, I think him. I mean, he would probably do a real good job as a heel, but on the main roster, I think as a heel, I think that he, I don't know. I just, for a lot of reasons, him as a heel on the main roster, I don't see him getting. I mean, he'll do well in the ring, but I think from a push standpoint, it'll be tough. They'll just use him to put people over, and it won't help him that much.
We now have the Money in the Bank show tomorrow. 9 main show matches. We have the Bludgeon Brothers versus Gallows and Anderson on the pre-show. Starting an hour earlier. 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern. Yeah. 3.5 to 4 hours long.
4 hours long.
Any last-minute thoughts on this show?
So I haven't seen the SmackDown house show results as I'm taping this for tonight. But it appears, I mean, all the women were pulled from the Raw shows both nights this weekend. So my gut is that all of the women were, sent to Florida to work out spot for spot the ladder match, and obviously Rousey and Nia Jax. I mean, that goes without saying. But the other one, the ladder match too. So I guess that means the ladder match should be better than expected because they're working so hard on it. So there's that. If that's the case, again, like I could be wrong. Maybe the SmackDown women are there, but I just thought it was interesting that there's no women on the Raw show at all. They were in Peoria and oh God, where were they tonight? Was it Lexington? No, Champaign, Illinois. So yeah, you look at the card. So I got Camby's got the over/under on the stars, and it doesn't look very impressive. When I look at this show, it looks all right, but yeah. So like Styles Nakamura 4.25, which I think that feels like about where it's going to fall. Who know? I mean, who knows? But yeah, that for Last Man Standing. I mean, they haven't come close to that yet, but I expect that this is going to be the best Styles Nakamura we're going to get of all of them. Rousey and Nia 2.25.
I'll be stunned.
I don't know. well, they're working it out and everything, but I don't know. I mean, I think that one's best kept short. Maybe Rousey will surprise us. Rollins and Elias.
Here's the thing with that match, in my opinion, as far as 2 1/4. Like, if it's 90 seconds, it ain't going to be 2 1/4.
Yeah.
And if it's 6 minutes, it ain't going to be 2 1/4. That's what I think.
If it's 15 minutes, it ain't going to be either.
No. So I'll take that bet.
Rollins and Elias 2.5. I am sure it will be higher than this. Oh, I'm not sure, but because they had good. The reports from the house shows for Seth Rollins and Elias have been very strong, so I expect that's going to be. I think that match will be good. Rollins is working very, very hard. Men's Money in the Bank 4 1/4. Yeah, men's Money in the Bank match, ladder match, they are almost always good. So, I mean, I think that's got a good shot at being the match of the card. Reigns Mahal 2 3/4. Sounds about right, don't you think?
I think that's a safe number.
Yeah. Bludgeon Brothers Anderson Gallows 2.
On the pre-show, not sure that's going to make 2.
I think it'll be better. I think it'll be
really on the pre-show. I don't know about that.
Oh yeah, I think so. These guys are good. Both
they are good. I just don't anticipate them getting any time, and there's going to be a commercial right in the middle.
They'll get 9 to 11 minutes. They'll be all right. Carmella and Asuka 2 stars. Maybe.
Because Asuka's in there, I'll give that a maybe.
Yeah, I will too because of Asuka. I mean, Carmella and Charlotte haven't. I haven't heard them coming close to that anywhere. Women's Money in the Bank 3 might beat it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're going to lay out all the spots, and you got some. You've got
you got Charlotte, you got Becky, you got Natalia,
Ember Moon's a real good athlete.
Sasha, Naomi,
Sasha Banks is a real good.
It'll
worker.
be 3.
Yeah, Sasha Banks is really good. I think they'll be all right. So, yeah, it's a show.
What's the over/under on Daniel Bryan and Cass?
You know what? I didn't even put that down. I think it was. God, I didn't even put it down. It was in the 2s. It wasn't. It was below 3. I know that. And I don't know. It's like I can't imagine. It's like on a big show. It's kind of like you can't really imagine Daniel Bryan being.
Dude, we saw it on a big show.
I know, and it wasn't good. Cass has not looked good since he's come back.
No.
So it's going to be tough.
Alrighty, as far as other news for the weekend, Australia show is official. Brock Lesnar not advertised, although Shawn Michaels and Daniel Bryan are advertised, both of which are interesting.
Well, I suppose. I mean, Shawn Michaels is an interesting name if he's going to wrestle. They did, to me...
You don't say. That's an understatement.
Okay, but here's the thing. If he was going to wrestle, I think that they would make a lot bigger deal of it. So I think he's like just going to be on the show in some form, like as a second or something. I mean, I don't know. But to me, if he was going to wrestle, I don't think they would just, by the way. To me, that's too much of a big deal. And also, if he was going to do it, this wouldn't be the show to do it on. I just think he's going to be there because it's like he's doing in London.
You don't think a 4 a.m. show on the East Coast is a great time to have a Shawn Michaels return to wrestling after all these years?
No. By the way, so everyone knows the show will be starting at 4 a.m. on 4 a.m. on a Saturday morning, not a Sunday morning, Saturday morning, 4 a.m. So that's the start time. 1 a.m. on the West Coast. So yeah. I don't think that so Brock not being there is interesting. Now Brock's contract will be up by then. However, so will Daniel Bryan's, and Daniel Bryan has not signed. I know that I've only gotten about 50 people asking me today, and as of, he's not signed. I could say like as of 2 hours ago, but he's not signed. Okay, I mean he didn't sign it at 4 a.m. on a Saturday night. I don't think. And I don't think that it's not at that stage yet. So whatever. I mean, I'm not saying he's going anywhere or anything like that. I'm just saying that this is not a sign that Daniel Bryan signed. He has not signed. So, but it was, so really, in a sense, them saying that, I suppose it's, I don't know what it is. But, they'll announce people. I think that they announced him. What can I say? Undertaker, Triple H, like
for the last time ever, they claim.
I guess. You know, it's like I don't know. I can't get excited about that. I mean, the last. You know what really hurt Triple H to me was that match with John Cena at the Greatest Royal Rumble, because it was like, you know, he had a really good match at WrestleMania, but when he had that match with Cena, who's better than Undertaker, it was kind of like that was just. I mean, it was just okay. And
yeah, but I mean, that was during a string of very, very average to below average John Cena matches.
Yeah, but he's still better than Undertaker.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying. I don't know if we just not necessarily be excited about Hunter. It's just we're not excited about this particular matchup.
Look at Undertaker. I mean, Undertaker. You know, his match with Rusev wasn't. You know, I mean, it was okay, but that's all. It was just okay. His match with Cena was below okay. So, I mean, I'm not saying the match is going to stink. I don't think it'll stink, but it's like, you know, and again, it's not about work. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like. I guess they feel it's two legends and they need something like that to feel special for Australia. But I don't know if I don't know if I feel special at that. It's almost like you're bringing back. It's not. It's like it's something that's been done. Granted, it hasn't been done in years, but there's no great clamoring for it either. So it's like I'd rather Triple H like put somebody over that you don't expect him to put over, and Undertaker. I don't know, he's you know, I think he's just as well just being an attraction against somebody like Rusev or somebody where, you know, somebody who he can beat that doesn't, you know, that's just, there's guys like that on the roster, you know, just whatever. I suppose that's what he's going to do with Triple H, but whatever. I suppose you could say, well, better to work with Triple H than work with somebody else on the card who can have a good match. But Triple H can have a good match.
We've also got the G-1 notes for August.
Well, by the time we wake up, the announcement will be made. So tomorrow night's show, we'll talk about the names. They're going to announce all the names in a couple hours. And then on Monday, they will announce the blocks. And then on Tuesday, they will announce the main matches. And probably by Wednesday, they'll have all the cards. So it's all coming up. So... Jeff Cobb's there, you know, so I wonder. They're saying it's going to be the biggest G1 in history. I don't know what that means. It's going to be hard to top last year. Perhaps even, I would say impossible, but New Japan's having a hell of a year this year. So maybe it's not impossible.
Tell us about the Kenny Omega show as well as the New Day match.
Oh, there was no New Day match, but the New Day and...
there was a New Day match. New Day versus Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks.
Yeah, playing video games.
That's a matchup?
I suppose. Yeah, you know, they did it. It was interesting. It was interesting watching it. You know, the whole thing was... It was all Kenny Omega and Xavier Woods, who's actually... Austin Creed. He's Austin Creed, which is not his real name's Austin Watson, but Austin Creed is his video game name since he owns the name Austin Creed. So, and he doesn't own the name Xavier Woods, so he's trying to prepare for video games after wrestling. And they had I think it was a best of 9. Kenny won 5-4 after being behind the whole time. The Bullet Club team, they were totally booked as the babyface, except Omega is doing all these heel interviews. But they were booked as the babyface, at least the way it all turned out. And then at the end, when they were cheering the New Day, Kenny got all freaked out because not cheering the New Day, but cheering Xavier Woods because the loser was supposed to eat a pepper, or the losing team was supposed to eat peppers. And Austin Creed, Xavier Woods said that because the other guys didn't lose and he did, he'll eat all 3 peppers. So he eats 2 of them. And he's not in good shape at all. And Kenny Omega starts with, everyone's cheering him and he lost. That's not fair. And anything you can do, I can do. So he eats a pepper. So they both ended up acting like they were extremely sick. Perhaps they were. I do not know, but that's the deal. So so they announced Kenny Omega's show in Daytona, New Japan show. So it looks like it's a pretty. It's the idea is to do a little bit of over a 2-hour show. It's going to be streamed, so this will be able to be watched. There's going to be a couple pre-show matches. One which will involve Michael Nakazawa, who some Japan fans will know. But the 5 matches that will be on are Jeff Cobb and Chase Owens, which should be fine because Chase is a good worker, and I think that's for Jeff to look good. Liger and Rocky Romero, which will be fine. Tama Tonga Tangaloa versus Juice Robinson and David Finlay, which would be fine. Sho and Yo against Dragon Lee and Ryusuke Taguchi, which might be a real sleeper of a match, considering how Sho and Dragon Lee were in the Best of Super Juniors, where they freaking tore down the house. And then the main event is Omega and Ibushi against Naito and Hiromu Takahashi. So we're going to get to see Kota Ibushi against Hiromu Takahashi and Kenny Omega against Hiromu Takahashi, which is, I mean, it hasn't been done to death. It's a unique matchup, and of course, Ibushi and Naito, which has been incredible every time they've done that match, and Omega and Naito, which has been incredible every time they've done that match. So probably going to be a hell of a main event. Now this is going head to head with the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. So, man. That's tough.
Alrighty, we've got the Dr. Amann situation that Bix has written about in Deadspin. This is a new twist.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. I don't know what the deal is in the sense of, like, if he was a doctor to Jillian Hall, in a sense, yeah, you're not supposed to do that, okay? There's nothing...
Well, tell everyone the story first before you...
Dr. Amann dated Jillian Hall years and years and years ago. So that's the story.
While they worked together in WWE.
Yeah, but every woman in WWE is practically dating a guy in WWE. So, to me, it wasn't a secret then. I remember seeing pictures when guys would go out and they were together. I mean, again, if like he was whatever, there are things that doctors do with wrestlers, and not just wrestlers, with athletes and with celebrities and all that, all the time, and it's not right, and it happens constantly. And, it wouldn't be good for him to come out. But there isn't, again, the fact that he was dating her, to me, is nothing. It's not even a story. Especially years ago, who the fuck cares? I mean, it's like, date whoever you want. If he's treating her regularly and, doing stuff involving that, yeah, then there's an issue. But I don't know what it is. I don't know which one it is, and there's no... I don't want to say there's no evidence, because there is. But I guess to me, when I'm reading the story, and I'm going like, there may be a story here, but there's not a story yet. So that's kind of how I looked at it. I mean, the story, that he dated Jillian Hall, he's kind of allowed to do that. Doctors are allowed to, I guess a part of it too is like the real world. And in the real world, doctors date patients all the time, which is not, I'm not defending it. I'm just saying that's the real world. Especially, that just happened. That's not unusual at all. Now, the whole thing of Dr. Amann and in the hindsight with the trial and everything like this, it turned out to be, not a good thing at all. But he was a pawn in all this anyway. It's like, I don't know. But, again, I suppose it could cost him at the end. I mean, we'll see. But, again, I just felt that when I'm reading it, I I didn't feel it was a story unless you have the link of that he was treating her and what he was treating her on and things like that. And if it's there, then there's something. But that he's, people are all, getting mad about him. People in WWE who are on the road together, they're a lot, men and women they're gonna do that. Now there was something about him, I don't know what the word was, with some trainee or something like that, but I don't even know what that story is. And I'm not defending Dr. Amann. Because I don't know. And when the story was over, it was like, I still didn't know. It's like, what was the story? I mean, if there was something unethical, then there's something unethical. Dating someone is not unethical, just in and of itself, and not at all, unless you are, unless that compromises your treatment of someone. And if we have evidence of the treatment, then yeah, there's a story. So I don't know. I wasn't. I knew it. I didn't care. When it happened, all those years ago when I saw pictures of it, it was kind of like, so what? It's like, so what? I'm glad. I was happy. I'm happy for him. If people find someone that makes them happy, temporarily, long term, geez, and, I don't know. That's just how I looked at it. We'll see, again, if more comes out, it could be a big story. But I was just not. I seemed like, I don't know, I guess reading so many people like, oh my God, this is so horrible. It's like, maybe, but from what I read, he dated her years ago. Was there any evidence of some like horrible thing in the breakup? But that wasn't there either. So, I don't know.
Tell us about Leon Tabb.
Leon Tabb was the original cut man in UFC 1, and he was with the promotion until he was 80 years old. He was so till 6 years ago. He died, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, at the age of 86. The people who knew him spoke highly of him. He was always around, and oh God, I knew Stitch. You know what I mean? It's like I just talked to Stitch from time to time. And, but Leon Tabb who was always with Stitch, but I didn't know him. I was at the show. I think I was the MMA awards I know I was at the MMA awards when they, honored him, when they did the big thing, Lifetime Achievement Award and everything, which, I'm really glad that he got right around, it was like, shortly after he retired. But yeah, he was cut man, had a very good reputation. I never heard anything bad about him at all. And quite frankly, when you're in that situation, if you don't hear anything bad about you, that's a good thing, because the cut man is supposed to be an anonymous guy. He's not supposed to be a guy that you hear a lot about, because if you hear a lot about a cut man, it's probably going to be negative.
Let's jump into the mailbag here. Mailbag at WrestlingObserver.com.
I got a couple questions I got to get through that people have asked. So let me get through these. What would you say was the biggest detriment to TNA's fall? It's easy to look at the Hogan-Bischoff era as the nail in the coffin, but what specifically did it? Lack of revenue, exposure? Going through TNA and everything like that, I can't say there's like one big problem. I think everything was a problem. There was just a lot of problems. Dixie was not equipped to be in the position she was in. Clearly, the people she hired in a lot of cases were not in the position they should have been in. They tried to be WWE too much when you don't need another WWE. They never had their own. I think at one point when Scott D'Amore was booking the first time, I think they were starting to get a little bit of an identity of something different. And I think there was other points where they were getting some identities of certain things, but they never really could stick with it. I don't think, what killed them is essentially the period where they started falling on Spike And when, losing Spike is what what put them in the bad shape. Is they lost a lot of money, but with Spike still paying them, they were okay. And they lost a lot of money, but the loss of Spike is what killed them. So what was the cause of the loss of Spike? Spike was losing, saw the numbers going down, and just thought they'd passed their peak and they were on the way down. And then the Russo thing, where they hid Russo from Spike, and Spike found out because Russo emailed Mike Johnson thinking he was Mike Tenay. God only knows the whole way that whole thing was handled. And, that was Spike decided to cut bait. And that was, that was the biggest thing of all. Because once they lost that, their exposure, they went from, 1 million viewers to, 300,000. And it's just hard to grow when you got that few of viewers. Unless, you can do well with that few of viewers if you got a super hot product. But they didn't have a super hot product. And, they're trying to rebuild. They are better. I watch Impact, and it's easier to watch than Raw. It's sometimes easier to watch than SmackDown. Maybe even often, but so few people are watching it. They ran off so many people, and when you run off a lot of people, it's really hard to get them back. And again, their exposure, it's on a station that people don't watch a lot of, and that doesn't help either. Being on a low-rated station, wrestling on a low-rated station, I don't know. It's doesn't. It's better than nothing, I suppose, having TV on a low-rated station, but it's hard to go places with that level of exposure. I guess it's possible because New Japan did real well on Access, but they're not New Japan, so that's part of the issue.
Is that it?
I think that. Could Dave tell the story about Eddie Sharkey shooting up Verne Gagne's office? Sounds pretty juicy. Okay, so Eddie Sharkey's wife was a women wrestler. Princess Littlefeather, I think was her name. I don't remember, but she had a Native American name. So Verne made a pass at her. So one night, Eddie Sharkey got into Verne's office. Verne was not there and shot up the office. And needless to say that Eddie Sharkey didn't work for Verne for a long, long time after that. I don't know if he ever went back. Maybe he went back as a referee years later. I'm not sure. Because a lot of Eddie kind of had a rebirth in the industry when he trained the Road Warriors and Rick Rude and Nikita Koloff and Barry Darsow, and I think there were some others. Was Nord in that class? I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember if there's, but those were the key guys that he trained. Zink might have been there. I'm trying to remember if Zink was there. I think so. I think Zink was with Eddie Sharkey. So, yeah, that was the story. Let me see if there's... So, those are the ones. That's it.
All righty. This person here says, what do you attribute to the lack of success Johnny Yates had as head of talent relations in regards to signing young talent that ended up being successful in the company? There's a huge drop-off when he was in charge of bringing in new guys, which was after JR's last big class consisting of Brock, Orton, Batista, Benjamin, and before Triple H took over FCW and started NXT.
Yeah. They didn't sign a lot of guys the guys, the guys that like came in that era, like Ken Doane, who when he was in developmental, everybody thought was going to be a big deal. And he got to the main roster and was just, he was put in a gimmick that killed him, and he never recovered. But yeah, like Bobby Lashley came through, I think, in that era, who, would have been a big star if things had happened and he hadn't left the company. Who else was there? Johnny Jeter, people were pretty high on, and after the Spirit Squad gimmick, he was never used again. Who else was from that? Matt Capitelli had cancer. The people thought very highly of him. John Morrison came out of that, and I thought he did well for himself. Turned into an excellent wrestler. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, he recruited a lot of women that made it, you know. I mean, a lot of the women, I mean, got roster spots. I mean, not a lot of the women. I'm trying to think how many of the women end up being good wrestlers. Not that many, but there were a lot of pretty women that he recruited that, you know, had time there. You know, that's what I could say. They had time on their main roster.
This person here says, Velveteen Dream hinted that it was over for him in NXT after TakeOver. Will he be getting called up now? And if so, which show would you put him on?
I don't know. I mean, he was on the list to be called up after Mania, so I could easily see him being called up. I wouldn't do it just yet, although I think that his charisma and working with good people, I think he should do well. But again, I would want him down a little while longer. I mean, he's clearly going to be a guy who's going to make it on the main roster and should be a big star. Yeah, but I don't. It wouldn't shock me, but you know, again, most of these call-ups are kept so secretive. I mean, like literally, no, they don't even know. You know, they don't tell the talent literally until, you know, like the morning or maybe like the weekend. Like if Velveteen Dream's going to start on Monday, you know, he probably was told like after the show tonight, oh, by the way, you know, you're not going home after the show. Stick around for 2 days. You know, I mean, that's literally probably the earliest they would tell him. So it's not, yeah. So but yeah, he was on the to do or not to do list, and it came down to the wire on him in April. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's brought up.
This person here says, do you have any idea how the Spanish announce team actually is rated as commentators? Is Carlos Cabrera seen as a Spanish Jim Ross? He's been on the job for years.
I've never heard that. That's all I can say. I've never heard anyone compare Carlos Cabrera to Jim Ross or anybody else.
This person says, Dave, you said you don't think we'll ever see a better match than Okada Omega. Do you think we'll ever see a worse match than Sheik and Volkov versus the Bushwhackers from the Heroes of Wrestling?
I don't know in a major promotion that we will, because, you know, like, we really don't see matches that horrible anymore. You know, I mean, the horrible, you know, the really unbelievably horrible matches. I mean, you know, will there be matches as bad as that on indie shows? Yes, but as far as the big picture, big companies, you know, I mean, CMLL sometimes has bad matches, but not that bad, not at that level. I'm trying to think like Triple H. I mean, AAA often has horrible matches, but I think that, you know, they're going to probably have a step up in their work rate just because Conan's in charge, and, you know, he's going to be bringing in guys that are better. Man, NXT, no, I can't imagine. You know, maybe lightning strikes or something, but no. Yeah, I don't know that we'll see, you know, look, I can't remember a match that bad since that one. I mean, the Jenna Morosca match with, remember that was it Rebel?
It was, there was Shelly Martinez and Booker's wife.
Charmel, right, that was
Charmel.
Yeah. No. Jenna Morosca was with Charmel.
That's right. Yeah.
Jenna Morosca and
Charmel. Rebel and who the hell was Rebel?
Shelly Martinez.
Shelly Martinez. That's right.
Yeah.
Those two were absolutely terrible.
Jenna Morosca and Charmel was really, really bad. Yeah, that was at a different level. The other one you said was pretty damn bad too. So yeah.
But, you know, as Dave has noted, as far as going back and comparing great matches from the past, like I went back and watched that Ultimate Warrior Hogan cage match or whatever they had in WCW, or the second singles. It was horrible, but you know what? With another 19 years of terrible TNA matches and stuff, it wasn't that bad. It was bad. It was bad, but it wasn't that bad.
That match was pretty bad.
The scale has been lowered since that match took place.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, if somebody, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't know. As bad as that Sheik and Volkov match with the Bushwhackers, though.
I have to find that match and watch it again.
That match is pretty horrible.
I do remember when I saw it, I also thought it was the worst match I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was up there. I think I gave it negative 459.6 stars.
Yeah. All right, this person here says, now that we've seen how much money WWE has been able to make from TV rights fees, in the end, was it worth the move to 3 hours for Raw?
Financially, it always was. It's the question of, the thing that's changed completely for both UFC and WWE is before, and in the long run, you could argue in the long run this isn't a good thing, but when we talk about the long run's a real long run. It's no longer about keeping the interest of viewers. It's about putting out product. You want to keep the interest of viewers, but what's happened is that if you're live and you can get a decent audience in TV right now, you're valuable. So they can lose a lot of audience and it would still be considered decent. Whereas before, you really didn't, it was important not to lose audience because, number one, you lose audience, your merchandise goes down, your house shows go down, everything would spiral down. But now, video game sales, everything, right? But now, even if they all go down, so what? Who cares? You're making $465 million in 205 and yeah, I think it's 465 a year. Not right away, but within 4 years from now, you'll be making $465 million a year. So it's like, so what? They could literally have nobody go to house shows ever again, and they're still going to be making more money than they ever made during the Steve Austin era. I mean, that's the insanity of all this. So, it's just completely. So yes, who was to know that it didn't? That in fact it wouldn't matter. That losing fans would not even be an issue anymore to hurt your financial health. And it's the same with UFC. If UFC is viewed by less and less people, I mean, it's not a good thing, but you know what? If someone's going to pay you $150, it's $10 million a show to put shows on a streaming platform that almost no one's going to watch, but they're paying you $10 million. So what if you don't have a lot of viewers? I guess 5 years down the road, there'll be a moment of truth, and perhaps there will be with WWE, although that's less likely, because WWE, for WWE's ratings to go down to the point that they're not considered valuable to the stations that they're on. I'm not talking about Friday SmackDown on Fox, because Friday SmackDown on Fox is a risk, without a doubt. That's a risk, but not a big risk, because I think everyone kind of has a feeling of what it's going to do, and we'll see what that number really is. But Raw, it's like Raw could drop to like 1.5 million, and USA will certainly be very, very unhappy, but they're still going to be getting that money, and they're not going to get canceled, and they're not, and how long is it going to take to get to 1.5 million viewers? Even if their product sucks for years and years, it's going to take a long time to get to that level, just because of the fumes and the tradition and the fact that, and I know like less people are watching than ever before and all that, but there may, that type of product is just more valuable now. So it's just, it's the rules have changed. You know what I mean? It's like before, it's like you don't want something that'll lose you viewers, because then your pay-per-view goes down, your house show business goes down, and all that. Now, everything goes down if you become less popular and you lose viewers. And 3 hours is a chore, and 3 hours slowly erodes your fan base, without a doubt. But a slowly eroding fan base is okay now.
All right, everybody, on that note, we're going to wrap it up for today. We'll be back tomorrow after the Money in the Bank show, so you can look forward to that. Got a new Observer Live coming up tomorrow. Got a lot of stuff up on the front page, so check that out. And that is it. We will talk to you again after a while.